Good morning, friends. Welcome to Abundant Life Church Online. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us today. I was kind of thinking about Christmas music. And now in our home, we're already playing Christmas music. It's been going since after Halloween. But what about your house? Is music blasting from the speakers? Are you listening to the Christmas tunes already? Or are you the type of person that's like, no, I gotta wait till December. I gotta see lots of snow. There's gotta be a snowman on the front lawn. Then I'll listen to Christmas music. Or maybe you're just, nope, I don't listen to Christmas music ever. So please just write in the comments below. Just let me know, what are your thoughts about Christmas music? I just have a few announcements before we get to our message today. The first one is that our Hope for the Holidays campaign is kicking off this Sunday. And we're so excited to be able to partner and help out these two great organizations. The first one is Neofax, and they do an annual toy drive every year at Christmas. And we are collecting toys for any kids from ages 0 to 18. They even suggest as great ideas for those that are older. Gift cards is a great gift. Also, another great organization is Habitat Interlude. And this is a women's shelter, and we're looking for things like women's toiletries, household items, or even just small toys for younger kids. Also, we want to let you know that we have something called Reach that happens every Thursday after school from 3:30 to 5. This is for students that are in grades 6 to 8. And I want to tell you, they have games, they have workshops, food, they have Jesus, they have prizes. I just want to let you know that if you have students that are in grades 6 to 8, please tell them about Reach so that they can come and meet new friends and learn a lot more about Jesus. Also, we have something called Rooted for those students that are in grades 8 to 12. And this happens every Friday at 7:30. Some of the things that they do are they have games, they have prizes, they do worship, they talk about Jesus, they go on road trips. That's right, road trips. And so please encourage, if you have students that are in grades 8 to 12, on a Friday night, tell them to get to Rooted so that they can meet new people and they are going to be able to discover a Jesus who loves them and cares about them so much. Also, please save these dates. Christmas is coming to Abundant Life Church. Some things that we're really excited about. Sunday, December the 5th, we're having a Christmas gathering at the church at 6 p.m. We're going to have some carols that we're going to sing together. We have some special music lined up, and then we'll be enjoying some delicious hot chocolate. So please put that on your calendar. Invite your friends, invite your neighbors. We just want to see people come on that day and gather together. It's going to be a lot of fun, so mark that on your calendar. Also, Friday, December the 17th is going to be our Christmas community dinner. This will be available in takeout option only, and this will be going from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. So it's going to be a delicious meal. Mark that on that calendar. Also, Sunday, December 19th, during our morning service, our in-person gathering, at 10 a.m. we will be having the kids performing. This is going to be so exciting. I can't wait to see what they are going to perform, and it's just going to be a great morning. And then we have our Christmas Eve service that will be at 6 p.m. We're going to have carols. We're going to be giving away prizes. There's going to be something for the kids, and there'll be a special message. So please put that on your calendar. Mark these dates. We want you to be a part of Christmas at Abundant Life Church. Well, I just wanted to start out this message by giving you some facts about a place called Buckingham Palace. Now, Buckingham Palace, it actually has 775 rooms. It has 188 staff bedrooms. It has 92 offices, 78 bathrooms. I just imagine using every single one of those bathrooms. That would be a lot of bathrooms to use. 52 royal and guest bedrooms. Also, there are 760 windows and 1,514 doors at Buckingham Palace. The they talk about this boy named Edward Jones, who actually managed to break into Buckingham Palace 3 different times. They say that while he was there, he would steal food from the kitchen, and this is an odd thing, but he stole the Queen's underwear, and he actually got to sit on the throne. The palace garden features a tennis court, its own lake, and a helicopter landing. The Queen's gallery and diamonds, get this, are worth an estimated $17 billion. Buckingham Palace, it has its own ATM machine. It actually has its own post office. It has a movie theater. It has a police station. And it has a medical center. Currently, right now, there is a group of Canadian troops that are serving as the Queen's Guard at Buckingham Palace. And lastly, Queen Elizabeth II, all of her children were actually born at Buckingham Palace. Now you would think a place like this, Buckingham Palace, a palace, this would be a place where a king would be born. Except it wasn't this way when Jesus came into the world. This was not the type of place where Jesus was born. Now I know what you might be thinking. It's November. And you might think this is a little bit too early to be talking about Christmas. But remember, when you talk about Christmas, you're really talking about Jesus. So this month, let's begin to journey towards Christmas. We're going to take some time to explore historical evidence all throughout the Old Testament that references Jesus' birth. In fact, there's actually 300 prophecies. Now, the word prophecy means the foretelling or prediction of what is to come, or a divinely inspired utterance or revelation in the Old Testament about Jesus' birth, ministry, death, and resurrection. This month, we will look at just a few of them. We're not going to look at all 300. That will talk about his birthplace, his parents, his visitors, and his mission. So today we will look at Micah Chapter 5 that talks about his birthplace. And it says this in Micah 5 verses 2 to 5. Bethlehem Ephrath, you are small among the clans of Judah. One will come from you to be the ruler over Israel for me. His origin is from antiquity, from ancient times. Therefore, Israel will be abandoned until the time when she who is in labor has given birth. Then the rest of the ruler's brothers will return to the people of Israel. He will stand and shepherd them in the strength of the Lord, in the majestic name of the Lord his God. They will live securely, for then his greatness will extend to the ends of the earth. He will be their peace. When Assyria invades our land, when it marches against our fortresses, we will raise against it 7 shepherds, even 8 leaders of men. Now please, stay with me. Right now I'm going to be giving a lot of facts and knowledge and history. But stay with me on the journey because I want to tell you, it's going to be worth the trip. The first thing that we see is that Jesus' birthplace was in humble circumstances. The name Bethlehem actually means house of bread. They were trying to talk about one person that was going to come one day and meet our deepest hunger. In John chapter 6, verse 35, Jesus is referred to as the bread of life. Bethlehem was also the hometown of David. But Bethlehem never really became a great or influential city. It never really got to be like Jerusalem, like some of the larger cities. Bethlehem was just a small place, but this was the hometown of David. Also, Joseph, we know, was from the lineage of David, the family tree of David. And he would have had to came to Bethlehem because of the Roman census that's talked about in Luke chapter 2. Because of the census, there would have been a ton of people that were traveling to Bethlehem. It's not a far stretch to know that there wouldn't have been a lot of rooms available. There wouldn't have been space, and that Jesus being born in a stable, or what some people think was a cave, was very possible. Bethlehem, this place that was small, of no significance, became the birthplace for the nativity. So that's the first thing that we see, is that Jesus' birthplace was in humble circumstances. The second thing that we see is that Jesus has existed since the beginning of time. In verse 2, it says, origin is from antiquity, from ancient times. What this is referring to is, it speaks to the glory of Jesus, that Jesus has been there since the creation of the world. He has always been. Jesus has always been there since the beginning of time. Also, it speaks to that Jesus became like one of us. He became a little baby. I remember our boys, when they were babies, they cried a lot. They pooped a lot. And then they began talking. And then they were walking. And then they were running. And then they just took off, climbing trees and doing all the things that boys love to do. Jesus became like one of us. He became a little baby, that little boy. He became a human. But also we have to recognize is that Jesus, even though he was fully man here on earth, was also still fully God. And this, to me, is encouraging to know that Jesus understands us. Because he came as a human, he understands the interests, just the things about being a human, about living and breathing on this earth, the things that you have to go through day after day. He knows the life of a human being, but also, so he understands us, but because he was fully God, he understands how to help us. He is still our great help. J.I. Packer said this about the whole complexity of Jesus being fully man and fully God. He said this, here are two mysteries for the price of one. The plurality of persons within the unity of God, and the union of Godhead and manhood in the person of Jesus. Nothing in fiction is so fantastic as is the truth of the incarnation. Now, incarnation is just a really fancy word that just meant that Jesus came to earth in human form. When we think about Christmas, this is it. Jesus coming to this earth as a little baby to change the world. See, this to me is a game changer. And then in verse 3 it says, therefore Israel will be abandoned until the time when she who is in labor has given birth. At just the right time, when the world needed to be restored, when Jesus needed to come, when he needed to appear, he would come. It also mentions she who is in labor, and biblical historians have said that this is what they believe is talking about Mary, who gave birth to Jesus. So the first thing that we see is that Jesus' birthplace was in humble circumstances. The second thing we see is that Jesus has existed since the beginning of time. Now here is where the journey is worth the trip. The third thing that we see is that Jesus' birth would change circumstances. Did you know that it would be approximately 700 years after Micah had written these words that Jesus would be born? 700 years. But Jesus' birth would change circumstances. It said that Jesus would be a shepherd to his people. I want to tell you, friends, that there is nobody, absolutely nobody, who cares more about you than Jesus does. He cares so deeply for you. His love for you is so deep. He cares more about people than anyone I know. Jesus would be a healer to his people. Today, my friends, if you are in need of physical healing, if you are in need of mental healing, you have anxiety that you are dealing with, If there's emotional, you are feeling alone right now, or if there's a spiritual healing that you need, you know in yourself that you are far from God and you need to come into a relationship with Him. Jesus wants to be your healer today. And then Jesus would bring peace to His people. Doesn't mean that all troubles and all wars all of a sudden end, but there would be a peace in your confusion, in your anxiety, even in a time where people are fighting against one another. Jesus would be the peace. Hope of the world arrived in a manger. So, Jesus' birthplace helps us to recognize that great things come from humble beginnings. Bethlehem, a place that no one really went to visit until that census happened. It wasn't a lot of business, it wasn't a lot of tourism that was happening, but that became the birthplace of Jesus. At just the right moment, at just the right time, God became human in the person of Jesus. And that we have to understand that Jesus, although He was fully man, was also fully God. And Jesus changes circumstances. Today, in 2021, Jesus still cares about you. Jesus is still healing. If you need healing, Jesus is still healing in 2021. And Jesus is still the hope of the world. I want to end by looking at the origin story of the famous Christmas carol, The Little Town of Bethlehem. Philip Brooks was the composer of this famous Christmas carol, and he was also the minister of Holy Trinity Church in Philadelphia. And he had visited Bethlehem in December of 1865. Phillips Brooks had this opportunity to travel to the Holy Land. When he was there, the itinerary that he had included a horseback ride from Jerusalem to Bethlehem on Christmas Eve. By nightfall, he was in the same field, according to tradition, that the angels appeared to the shepherds. Then he attended the Christmas Eve service at the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem. Something about the beauty and simplicity of that visit stayed with Philip Brooks when he returned to America. Several years later, when he wanted a song of Christmas for the children to sing at his church, he reached back in memory for inspiration from his Holy Land visit. The poem he wrote painted in words the sights and sounds of that little town of Bethlehem he had visited. Phillips Brooks wrote to the children in his congregation, "I remember especially on Christmas Eve, when I was standing in the old church in Bethlehem, close to the spot where Jesus was born, when the whole church was ringing hour after hour with the splendid hymns of praise to God. How again and again it seemed as if I could hear voices I knew well, telling each other of the wonderful night of the Savior's birth. What came from his pen was a Christmas carol that has lived to become a worldwide favorite. O little town of Bethlehem, how still we see thee lie. Above thy deep and dreamless sleep the silent stars go by. Yet in thy dark street shineth the everlasting light. The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight." Then he asked the church organist, Louis Redner, to compose a simple melody for the children to sing on Christmas Eve. Mr. Redner sat down at the piano to find just the right tune to carry the descriptive words. But nothing he wrote seemed to fit. On the night before Christmas Eve service, he felt defeated, so he went to bed. During his fretful sleep, it seemed that he had heard music. Immediately, he got up and wrote down the melody just as we sing it today. When he joyfully presented it to Reverend Brooks, he said, "I think it was a gift from heaven." The children sounded like a choir of angels as they sang the new carol written just for them. Within the beauty of a little town of Bethlehem is one of God's promises from the prophet Micah. Bethlehem Ephrath, you are one of the little towns of Judah. But from you I will bring a ruler for Israel, whose family lines go back to ancient times. The last verse of this Christmas carol was actually written to be said as a prayer, and today I would like to pray this over you today. O holy child of Bethlehem, descend to us, we pray. Cast out our sin and enter in, be born in us today. We hear the Christmas angels, the great glad tidings tell. O come to us, abide with us, our Lord Emmanuel. This week, my friends, remember that great things came from humble beginnings. Jesus was born in Bethlehem. That God became man in Jesus. He appeared to us here on earth. And that Jesus continues to change circumstances today. He cares for you. He wants to heal you, and He is your hope. All you have to do is call out to God, and He will answer you. I want to just say thank you so much for taking the time to join us for Abundant Life Church Online. Please take a moment and go and fill out a Connect card right now. You can find them on our website or on our Facebook page. And this is just an opportunity to share what was something that spoke to you about the message today. What is something that God was speaking to you? Or do you have something that you need prayer? Do you need to know again that God cares about you? Or that He wants to heal you? Or He is your hope today? Just write it in the comments in that Connect card. Also, if you would like to give a gift to our ministry, you can do so through an e-transfer that you can give to Abundant Life Church simply at giving@abundantlifecap.com. And we just want to say thank you so much for your faithful generosity. So I pray that this week that you will worship Jesus, that you will follow Jesus, that you will share Jesus, and you will lead others to Jesus.